Welcome to Librarian's Day Off, More Than Reading Books. I'm Larissa Cason, Director of the Marion County Public Library System.
And I'm Kathy McManus, Circulation Services Manager. And we are joining you from the Expression booth here at the library. So I've got some stats to share with you. We have 55 subscribers. We had 25 views on our last video, and it's only been up for about a week and a half, so that's pretty good. And some likes, so I think we're doing okay.
I know, very exciting. We're just excited to show off our Expression booth, which is why we started doing this video channel in the first place. So, let's see. Since we last had a video posted, some of the things that I've been doing is I am a big fan of Major League Baseball. I grew up in Southern California, so I'm actually a Dodgers fan. But since we live where we do, I go to a lot of Pittsburgh Pirates games. So we have recently gone to the last Pirates game we're going to of the season. Although I'm looking forward to watching some Dodgers playoff baseball on television. So hopefully that will be going on for a while. What about you? What have you been doing?
I did another camping trip.
Okay.
We went to Robert Craig Campground. It's a Corps of Engineer campground, which means if you have a National Park Pass, which is a senior pass, you can stay there half off. It only cost us $11 a night to stay there.
Well, that's really cool.
I know. And it's at Randolph Jennings Lake by Kaiser, West Virginia.
Okay.
It was very nice.
How are like the facilities there? I always want to know like what the bathhouse is like, or is there one?
There was a bathhouse.
Okay.
That had 4 showers.
Oh,
which
that's
was
pretty
nice.
cool. Yeah.
4 women and 4 for men.
Right.
It was a electric hookup, but no water, so you had to fill up once you got there.
Okay.
Or bring your tank full when you come.
Right.
And then, of course, the whole dump station, which is
gross.
But we deal with it. But they have one there, so you can take care of that before you leave.
That's pretty cool.
And it was quiet. It was nice. There was some nice trails. It was beautiful up there.
Yeah, very nice. So our guests today are Liz Butta and Cara Sims, and they're going to talk to you about video games and anime. Neither of those two things I have a lot of experience with, although I do like to play hidden object video games. What about you?
I have no experience with either one, so I'm very excited about learning more about it.
All right, so take it away, Liz and Cara.
Hi there, I am Liz Butta. I am one of the programming librarians here at the library.
And I'm Cara Sims, I'm the Public Relations Manager here at the library.
And today we are going to be talking about video games and anime, or kind of just like Japanese animation in general. In the last couple episodes, I know we had just one person who had their one certain thing, and it was more them informing the other person, but we're going to do things a little bit differently today because Cara and I actually share a lot of the same interests. So we are both into video games, we are both into anime, although Cara's definitely a little more into anime, but it'll be a little bit different than normal. So like I said, we are both very much into video games, but we are also into very different types of video games. So Cara.
Yes.
What kinds of video games are your favorites?
I really like the Final Fantasy series, so like JRPGs, especially the old Final Fantasy with the turn-based, but I also like sort of like puzzly games or like dungeon crawlers, but also like how you like the cozy games.
Yeah.
I kind of like the cozy games, but I have to be in a very specific mood for them. So like it's not my go-to.
I like them, but I'm also super picky about them too. Like I really prefer if a game has a demo so that I can really test it out. A lot of what I end up playing happens to end up being farming sims. I'm not super into like combat. I'll do a little bit. I'm fine with it. I like card-based combat. I'm not a fan of turn-based combat, but some cozy games still are pretty combat heavy. So,
like Stardew Valley has a little bit of that.
Yeah.
With the going into the mines and fighting like the slimes and stuff.
Right.
That's a lot of fun because it combines the cozy with like the farming, but also the dungeon crawling.
Yeah, it's funny because The mines were always my favorite part of Stardew Valley, but I'm in the minority of people who actually don't like Stardew Valley very much. I've tried it a few times, and I don't know, it just doesn't quite resonate with me. I think because it's too open-ended for me.
Which is understandable. Some people don't like that, and some people do, but there is a lot of freedom in it to, like, woo who you want and like make your farm how you want. You don't have to focus on growing crops. You could focus on raising animals. So like,
yeah, I always felt like I would get stuck because I would do what I wanted to do and then not make any money. So then I couldn't do a lot of the other things that I wanted to because literally in Stardew, the days are so short.
Yeah.
Like there's not enough time in a day. I felt like for me, I think that's another reason I didn't really care for it. I really like a nice sweet spot between a like real-time kind of feel like you would get from like an Animal Crossing game, but also with like spawn rates still that are not enacted daily, but like a regular spawn rate. So that was just like way too fast for me.
Which I will say that I just started recently in the last couple weeks playing it with a group of people, and it is a lot more fun when you have a farm with 3 other people.
Okay.
Because then you could each do, like somebody could do the mines one day, somebody could be growing crops, somebody could be focusing on animals.
It's like a chore chart.
Yeah. So like everybody can kind of do what they want and help each other out essentially, which is kind of nice.
That's cool. See, I don't do a whole lot of multiplayer when it comes to my cozy stuff.
Yeah. So they are like leaning towards that more, it seems like, with the cozy games, because it used to be just on your own most of the time, but now they're like leaning into the multiplayer because I think they realize people enjoy it, especially after like, you know, being shut down and everything. Everybody wanted some sort of connection with people.
Yeah, and those cozy games do give you the opportunity to like build relationships with these characters. I mean, I think we all know that when COVID hit, one of the biggest reliefs for a lot of people was that Animal Crossing came out right after, like a couple months in to the shutdown, which was amazing for them. It was hugely successful for Nintendo in that way. And I mean, Animal Crossing's always been one of their longest standing franchises. But yeah, it was definitely needed when everybody was stuck at home.
And they did have like the online, so you could go to like your friends' islands and like kind of hang out.
I will say though, so Animal Crossing has had, gosh, what, 6? Is it 6 games now?
I don't even know.
They've had the original one and then the first one that came to the US, which was on the GameCube. And then there was a Wii game, which was, I think I actually pulled that one out because we do have that one in our collection because we do circulate video games here, actually.
Which a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, so I pulled this one out. We didn't have the I know we have the new one, but it was checked out. So I grabbed this one because that's what we had on the shelf. City Folk for the Wii. And then there was the 3DS, there's Happy Home Designer, there's technically the Amiibo.
Yeah, and there's also like the mobile.
Yes, Pocket Camp. Yeah, so I mean they've been around.
Yeah, for
forever.
Quite a while.
Yeah, but that's always kind of a classic.
Yeah.
I feel like.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get into, but not overwhelming. So I think that's why a lot of people like it.
Yeah.
And like being able to make your character all cute and your villagers are little animals. I think that helps.
Yeah, and I like a game that has goals, whether they be like official quests or just like very clearly stated things to work toward, you know. And I always have liked about Animal Crossing that you've got goals. Especially if you're the type of person who wants a game where you just like collect things. Ooh, Animal Crossing is so much for you to collect. But that's something I always really liked about it because I can do those goals, but at my own pace. I don't feel rushed.
Yeah, which some of like the other games, especially like MMOs and stuff, they have very set deadlines for certain things, which is why a lot of people get overwhelmed because they'll do events and there's so many other people doing them, and sometimes it's not just yourself having to do them, you have to do them with a group.
Right.
So you're relying on that group to do it as well.
Yeah.
So it makes it not as user friendly, player friendly to jump into some of those really easily.
I know. So Splatoon 3 just came out recently.
Mm-hmm.
And we're big Nintendo people at my house. We do have PCs also, but for the most part, we have Nintendo consoles. So my husband got Splatoon 3. I'm not really into first-person shooters either. I always joke that I'm just bad at video games. So, I really like them, but I'm bad at them. So I love watching him play. And sometimes, you get matched up with just a room of random people, and you don't know who you're matched with, So there's zero guarantee that you're going to be matched with people of the same skill level.
Yeah, or even the same item level, because the first time I played the first Splatoon, I played it way after the fact that it came out, and there were people who were way ahead of me, and I was like, I'm losing because I don't have the same abilities.
Yeah.
Which was also kind of interesting because most of the time you get paired up with people and the like. So the fact that they kind of just threw everybody together was interesting.
Yeah. I think they try, but I'm sure there's only so much that algorithms can do.
That's for sure.
But
yeah, where you do more Nintendo, I do have a PC, but now that I've started this job where I'm at a computer all day, I don't always want to sit at my computer, but I like handhelds a lot. So we just got a Steam Deck recently, so I can play all of my computer games handheld, which is really nice. So there's just something that's comforting about having it handheld, and I think it's because I enjoyed it a lot as a kid, Pokemon and Zelda games and games like that. I think it just being able to have the mobility is really nice compared to a set console.
Same. It's really funny. So you have me wanting to maybe get a Steam Deck, which I'm holding out, because it's expensive, but also I just want to make sure that all of my games are supported, because I'm a picky game player, you know? So I want to make sure that the games I want to play actually work on the device.
Understandable, and it's very easy for me to find games that work because I have literally hundreds. So many. It's ridiculous.
But I love the Nintendo Switch because I was always a handheld person. I had Game Boys. I had at one point a PSP and 3DSs. I was always a handheld person, and I just love the Switch, that it switches, because I am able to sit on the couch and play a full console game in handheld mode, and so can Scott. So one of us can be on the TV and one of us cannot, so we can kind of still kind of hang out and coexist, even if we're playing totally different games, which I really love about that.
And I think that's why I like them too, because especially with the Steam Deck being able to play my computer games, my boyfriend and I, our computers are in separate rooms, and sometimes when we want to do stuff together, it's inconvenient.
Yeah.
So the fact that I can lay on the bed in the main room where his computer is, and he could be playing a game and I can be playing a game, even if they're separate games, we can still have a conversation.
Yeah.
Which is really nice without actually having to wear a headset, because those can get annoying after a while, especially with glasses.
Oh yeah. You're gonna laugh. So we have a basement kind of entertainment room, so it's our family room essentially, where the TV is, and both of our computers are down there. We've got a his and hers desk situation, so we can sit at our computers next to each other if we're gaming on them, because we will do multiplayer stuff occasionally on PC. But something that I did, because I thought it was super funny and easy, and it's a lazy life hack kind of thing. So if I'm sitting at my desk, our TV is behind me. So I actually have a mirror on my desk, so that if he's playing something and I still kind of want to see what's going on, or if there's a show on or something, I can just glance at my mirror and see it, which I actually took that from somebody here who her office is set up so that her back is to the door so she can see when people enter the room.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we have it that way, so it's even if we're in the different sections of the room, we can still enjoy a thing together.
Which a lot of people like to be in the same room, and some people like to be in separate rooms.
Yeah.
So, like, to each their own.
Yeah, I'm very much like a cohabitation person. Like, we don't have to be necessarily doing something together, but I like just being in the room.
Yeah, and that's one reason I like the handheld is because if I'm in the mood for like cohabitation, I can. But if I'm like, no, I can like go in a separate room and be by myself.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So
that's the other thing. Since we each have our own console, I have a smaller TV in a different room with another dock in there too.
Yeah.
So we can also split up if we want to as well. So that's really nice.
It's really nice.
So we talked about kind of what your favorite games were, and you mentioned how you played when you were a kid. So how old were you when you got started?
Probably like 2.
Really?
My dad brought home, I think, a Sega Genesis.
Okay.
And like the first couple games I remember playing, there was a Carnage game. There was an X-Men game that I remember playing because I played as Gambit, I think.
Okay, yeah.
And then there was, what else? The Lion King game.
Oh, that's
which was
a classic.
So hard.
Which I believe they put that on Switch. They remastered, and I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm thinking of a different Disney game.
Well, they might have, because on the Switch they have the Sega Genesis Classic if you have the online.
Yes.
So they might have put it on there.
I think it is on there.
Yeah. So like I played those. I think there was the Batman game. Like pretty much as soon as my little hands could hold a controller and I understood what was happening.
Yeah.
I was playing games, so like...
So your family was already
At least
gamers.
my dad was. My mom doesn't understand how to... She doesn't have good hand-eye coordination.
I can relate.
So, and she was never really into those sort of things, so it was more like a my dad and I sort of thing.
That's nice, though.
And like he would bring home games and say they were for me, but like they were kind of for both of us.
Classic dad move.
So like we got that. We had the PlayStation 1, which, like, my first game on that was Final Fantasy VIII, which was, like, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Very nice. It's the first Final Fantasy that I ever played, and, like, I really liked the turn-based. I like the character styles. Like, the story is really fun. So, like, it's just a good time.
Yeah.
So, and, like, we lived... When I was growing up, we didn't really live around a lot of other kids, so being able to have something to do that wasn't just outside, because when you don't have other kids your age around you, having something to keep you busy other than books and like all that is really nice.
We had Animal Crossing is like how I got started, and it was the only game that, because the GameCube was also my brother's technically, it was the only game he would let me play because you could have your own house.
Yes.
So of course we shared a village, we had our own houses, and so that was the first time that I had like a TV console. And clearly I've never looked back because I'm still playing Animal Crossing. I have hundreds of hours in. And then we eventually, my brother's godmother spoiled him and bought him a PlayStation 2, which was like probably one of the biggest gifts he'd ever gotten ever. And so we had, PlayStation 1 was more, I was going to say Crash Bandicoot, which is, again, a classic. But for PS2, we had, like, Tak and the Power of Juju and Ratchet and Clank and, like, Soul Calibur and, like, all those kinds of things. And my brother would let me play Soul Calibur with him because it's a fighting game, and he didn't want to play against the computer, basically. So he'd let me play against him. And, again, I'm not good at video games. Like, I enjoy them, I'm not good at them, and I'm okay with that. But he would get so upset because I'd button mash and beat him. And then I wasn't allowed to play that anymore either.
That's how those go sometimes, especially the old fighting games. Sometimes there's no strategy. It's just hit as many buttons as possible and hope for the best. Yep,
I'm totally a button masher. I just freak out. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And one of the games that I do that with, actually, we pulled this one as well. This is a really new one, Monster Hunter Rise, which Scott, my husband, is super into. And this is, not only is it combat, it's only combat, and it is hard combat. Like, a lot of the battles are specifically made for, like, multiple players.
Yeah, especially because, like, you have different weapon types, and each person does different types of stuff. And like they have an online one too, like the computer version.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's so hard. I remember the first time I played Monster Hunter, I got so frustrated because like you actually kind of have to have a plan.
Yeah.
You can't just go in it and be like, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. You kind of have to like dodge and roll and jump and like you mount the monster to attack it and break off parts of it. And like to get armor, you have to get parts of the monster.
Right, and of course it's not always going to drop the right ones.
Yeah.
You're going to have to fight that monster multiple times.
Yes.
And oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a pretty grindy game, so if you don't really like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I like that sort of thing where you have to grind for what you want.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's a little bit repetitive, for some reason it's enjoyable.
So I want to show, we've got a couple other games that we pulled, just other ones that we enjoy, and also just to kind of show you all what we have here. So I also pulled, this is a PS3 version of Katamari Damacy. Well, this is Katamari Forever, but I loved Katamari.
Yes.
This is one of those games too that I had on the old GameCube. And
Yep.
Always good game. And then I already showed the Wii Animal Crossing. So we've got older consoles as well. We have DS games as well. And then this one, Pikmin 3, which in the latest Nintendo Direct, they just announced Pikmin 4,
Yes.
which I am super excited for. This is another one that we had the first one on the GameCube. So I love Pikmin. It's a really cute one. And that one has combat technically in it too, but it's very different. So if you're looking for something like really cute, and I wouldn't call it cozy, but it's not cozy.
It's like I don't know how to explain it.
It's like a soft game,
Yeah.
sort of. So I think this is a really good one for somebody who's not super experienced. If you just want to give a game a try, any of the Pikmin games, they can stand alone. And then we also grabbed Pokemon Snap. This one, yeah, this is the new Pokemon Snap, which is super duper fun.
Yes.
This was my first Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, I played the original on the, was it the N64 that it was on?
I don't even know.
I think it was the N64, and I remember the surfing Pikachu. You would like throw an apple at him or something, and he would get on the surfboard and he'd do his little surfing move.
And then you had to take a picture.
Yeah.
So the whole premise of this one is you're in the Pokemon world, but instead of fighting them and collecting, you are basically going through their habitat and photographing them.
Yeah, and like depending on what you like throw at them or what you do,
if you like whistle,
it changes like what they do to catch a better photo. So like, and you get like graded on the photos essentially, and then that will unlock new areas for you to go to, or it'll unlock a different route within the same area to capture other pictures. So
so I really like that one. It's another just kind of calm one. Like that is a game that like is great to play to like wind down.
Yes.
At the end of the day, or like if you're really mad because you've been losing really hard at another game.
Yes.
Just like chill out, take some photographs of Pokemon.
Yes.
It's like super cute.
And with this one, you can actually share them with people online so you can see other people's pictures.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's definitely, we pulled just some of those because like I said, they're ones we enjoy. They were mostly my picks, to be honest.
Most of mine, I was going to bring some in and then I just didn't. But like Kingdom Hearts was my love child. I haven't played the newest one because I don't have the console for it.
Neither.
But I really enjoyed them, especially like the Game Boy Advance one, the Chain of Memories, because it was a card-based battle system.
I love the card-based battles. I had never played those until I did when I was like a teenager, and everyone I knew hated them, and they would get stuck, and I was really good at them because it's more of like a logic puzzle than fighting, so I like it a lot.
And like you have to build your deck, and you have to take into consideration who you're fighting, and like if you run out of cards, like you just gotta try again.
Yeah, and that leads in great. One of the new games that I've been playing that was just released at the beginning of September is called Ooblets. That's OOBLETS, and it is super cute. It's like a little combination of Animal Crossing and Pokemon, but it's really silly. The animation is funny, but the idea is you're in this town and there's these little creatures called ooblets that run around, and you collect them like you would Pokemon, but the combat style to collect them, rather than being a turn-based fight like in Pokemon, is a card style dance battle.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like first one to a point level depending, but it's really, really cute. It's super calm. It has that farming sim aspect to it and the relationship building aspect, but then it's also the card-based combat. So that's really cute and new, and I've been pretty obsessed with that one.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's different and I like it.
I've seen videos on it, but I haven't actually like looked into it.
It's cute.
So
It's very cute.
I've just been playing like the JRPGs and stuff right now, like
Yeah.
the old Final Fantasies that I haven't played when I was younger. So like,
Yeah, gotta catch up.
yes,
Right, because there's been 14 Final Fantasy games just in the main line? 15.
14, 15. They're working on another one right now.
Wow,
That
that's wild.
and then of course the remakes, the 7 that they've been doing right now.
Yeah.
Which I'm so excited because it seems like Zach is going to come back and he's my baby.
Everything's getting remastered
Yeah.
and brought back, which is nice. You know, I think we're living on that like nostalgia train,
Yeah.
right? So that's nice.
But yeah, so
Yeah. So we talked about a lot of what we do like.
yeah.
Why don't we talk about what we don't like and why?
I'm not really good at racing games, so it's not that I so much dislike them as I just steer away from them.
Yeah, I get you.
Because I'm not good at them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like on PC.
Oh no.
It's just no.
We'll play Mario Kart at home because, like, obviously it's a party game,
Yeah.
and I can be really, really competitive. So I just have to remind myself I'm not going to win because I'm not good at them either.
Yeah.
And then I can enjoy like the multiplayer, you know,
Yeah.
just enjoy being with people and playing it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I am definitely not great at racing games
Yes.
either. I mentioned I don't like first person shooters. I am too anxious of a game player to
Yeah.
be able to do them. Speaking of, I cannot do horror games.
Yeah.
I just, like, back in the day, like the old Silent Hill games and everything, what was Blood Rain and like some of those, I would occasionally watch other people play them, but they're just not for me. I'm not a horror person, like, in any way, though.
Yeah. I sometimes like them and sometimes don't, but like especially if I'm by myself and like it's one of those things where I'm like, not really feeling it. And like with the first person shooters, I'm not good at them on console, but I'm okay with them on like PC because
Yeah.
the aiming is different.
Yeah, the control change, whether it's like a mouse and keyboard or like an actual controller, makes a huge difference.
Like I spent so much time playing Overwatch when it came out and I got so good at it. And of course they just replaced it with Overwatch 2.
Right.
And I'm probably not going to play it because it doesn't seem as great as Overwatch 1, sadly.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for like your expectation of what you're gonna get when you go in.
Yeah.
Though, you know, even it can be the best game ever, but if your expectations weren't in
Yeah.
line with what it actually is, it can ruin the experience
Yeah,
for you.
and like it took a long time for me to get into that game because of that. And then once I did, I was like, wow, this is actually really fun.
Yeah.
But like, because I was so used to the turn-based, like it just took a while.
Yeah, that's understandable. There's one other type of game that I really dislike, and I don't know if you like them more than I do, but there's a type of game called visual novel, which is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's more of a story than a game. So the majority of the game is spent just like hitting buttons through dialogue.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, if I wanted to watch a show, like I just watch a show.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like not a fan of those, but I think a lot of people who are like them because they feel like they're more involved in the story.
Yeah.
It's more like immersive for them.
Yeah.
But that's one that I'm not really a fan of.
Depending on how it's done, I like it. There's one that's kind of a visual novel where you still kind of like, do some stuff, and there's like some puzzle to it. It's called The Cat Lady.
Okay.
It's like a dark one, but it's really good. Another one that you wouldn't expect to be dark from the art aesthetic of it is Doki Doki Literature Club.
Oh, yes.
It's interesting. Just to let you know, if you ever do go to play it, be warned, it is a psychological, like, horror style game.
It's dark.
Yeah.
It is insane though. I don't know if I'd ever seen a game like Doki Doki before or since. To be honest. Do you want to explain what makes that one like so unique?
Well, so essentially you're like romancing like a bunch of girls that you're in class with.
It's like a dating simulator.
It's kind of like a dating simulator how it starts out, but like a lot of stuff happens, and you find out that one of the characters, it's like a meta style thing.
Like she breaks the fourth wall.
She breaks the fourth wall, and like she breaks the game essentially because she makes it so that other characters start going crazy. They like one of them has a breakdown. And then,
or they just disappear from the game.
Their personality gets warped, and eventually she makes it where you have to delete their files from the game, so they just don't exist anymore. So it's just you and her now in like this weird space-time room.
It's wild because it's a PC game, so it actually prompts you to go back. You're not in the game when you're doing that. You are on your computer in your file logs. Actually deleting files. And it's just wild because it's like it's so immersive. It's very different.
And like just the way it interacts with you, like it does get you drawn in because it is making you do things, and you're like, oh.
We should probably segue into the next topic before we keep talking forever. So we were also going to talk about anime, which is kind of cool because anime and video games do kind of merge a little bit. You are definitely more familiar with that though.
Like so a lot of video games and vice versa have been like turned into animes recently, like the Cyberpunk 2077. They had the Edge Runners anime that came out recently. Very good. Would highly recommend. The World Ends With You, also one of my favorite games. They made an anime out of it. Like it just, they kind of cross over, and like some games, like the visual novels, there's like Steins Gate and Clannad and stuff, which actually turned into animes.
Those two are ones I've seen because, and they're so good. I especially like Steins Gate. That one is very super good.
But
which
like,
that's more of like a fantasy kind of genre.
Like fantasy / sci-fi /
It's like a futuristic.
It's also psychological.
But it's very good. So.
But it's based off of a visual novel that you can play on PC. So like, they turn some of those into actual.
So that way it's like the best of both worlds. So somebody like me, I'll just watch the anime, but maybe somebody else wants to be more immersed. So the visual novel's more for them. So video games you got into at a very, very young age because of your dad. Was anime and manga, was that the same way for you?
Pretty much. So I didn't have like a lot of cable growing up, like TV wise, but I remember watching like Sailor Moon when I was really tiny. Before I even started school, I was watching Sailor Moon. I watched Zoids. I don't know if you've ever watched Zoids.
I haven't thought about Zoids in a long time.
Gundam, like obviously Pokemon.
Digimon, right?
I actually preferred Digimon. Yu-Gi-Oh! I actually dressed up as Yu-Gi in elementary school, which it was so hard to find like those kind of costumes back then.
To kind of clarify too, we're talking about anime and manga. And the difference between them, anime is Japanese animation, so that would be shows and movies, and then manga are basically comic books, like they're the equivalent-ish of comic books in Japan. So many things, just like here, right? We've got Superman comic books, but they're Superman movies. You know, so there's a lot of the same thing. So you'll see we've got a bunch of examples of some of our favorite manga here too, which I'd say pretty much all of them. They also have an anime too, right?
Most of them do. There's like maybe one that I have here that I'm unsure if they've ever made an anime. I think they might have, but I don't know if I've watched the anime. I've just read the manga, so I'm not 100% certain. But the rest of the ones I have, they do have anime.
Let's run through them really quick so that we can get them out of the way. So these are all ones that we pulled out of our collection also. We have 2 different graphic novel collections at our library. We intermingle our manga with the rest of our comic books and like trade paperbacks and any kind of graphic novel we have. They're all just together. But we have like a general collection, and then we also have our mature section, which is nothing scandalous, but it's your things that are just more graphic, like The Walking Dead, more bloody, gory, things that, you know, you wouldn't maybe want like a 9-year-old to pick up off the shelf.
Berserk.
Yeah.
And talking about that, one of the ones I grabbed from it is Blood Plus. It's actually in our mature collection because it's just pretty violent.
Yeah.
Obviously, by the title, you can figure as much.
Right.
But it's one of my favorites. It's a unique take on like the vampire sort of thing. But there is an anime, multiple animes to this actually. They've remade it different times with different like animators, different like storylines. And it has movies. I think it even got like a live action.
Oh, wow. Yeah, some of the big ones, they've got so many.
Yeah.
We didn't pull Death Note. That's a big one.
I don't think any of them were upstairs.
I don't think they were either, but Death Note is a really big one that was extremely popular here. You can get merch at Hot Topic. And they had manga, anime, and live action movies of that one.
Same with like Full Metal Alchemist. There wasn't like a live action locally, but there was one in Japan, which they actually just released like the final part of it because it's in movies. I think this month on Netflix.
Very recently. So this month is in September.
Yeah.
When we're recording.
Oh yes, in September. So they just released the final part of it, I think. But Full Metal Alchemist is one of my favorite ones too.
I love Full Metal Alchemist. That one is so good.
Yes.
So I actually pulled some of like my very first ones that I got into.
Yeah.
So I discovered it, my brother and I, when we were like in middle school. I think I was like maybe 4th grade-ish. He's 2 grades above me, so like 4th grade, 6th grade. And of course, we had always watched Sailor Moon and Pokemon and Digimon and all that kind of stuff, but it never like occurred to us like, oh, this is anime. It's like its own thing. Until later on, when we happened to catch, back in the day, like one of the only ways to watch anime was to stay up late and catch it on Adult Swim, which is played after Cartoon Network at night. So one of the first ones that I found was Inuyasha.
Yes.
And so it was like, oh my gosh, this show is so great. We found the books that went with them, the manga, and you can see they are like comic books here. But I mean, I was a child. I wasn't going to be up every night to like watch it consecutively. So I was like, this is great. We can check out the books. And then my dad decided that manga was too expensive. So he wouldn't buy us any more manga because you go through them so quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're still the same price because I haven't bought them in forever, but they're like $10 a book. So if you're buying a series, some of the series are hundreds of novels.
And they go forever.
Yes. So he was like, I'm not buying you guys any more manga because it's never ending. So I went to my local library, which, since I grew up in Pittsburgh, I had a neighborhood branch, and I read through their entire manga section, and then I went to the big library, read through their entire manga section, but this was one of my first ones, and because of this one, Inuyasha, I found Ranma 1/2, which is actually the same author. So these are both, like, very high fantasy, they're action-y, there's combat.
There's a little bit of romance.
Yeah, there's romance. You've got very diverse, they're funny, there's like comedy. It's honestly like a little bit of everything. and they're kind of based in like historic Japan settings. So these are both really good. There were starters. I really, really enjoyed them growing up. I still enjoy them now. This is another one they've made anime out of both of them. And there was, I think, multiple movies of Inuyasha.
Yes, and they're actually doing currently, I think, a sequel to Inuyasha. It's the Yasahime.
It's his kid.
It's his kid.
I don't want to do too many spoilers.
Yeah, it's his kid and his brother's kids.
Yeah. So that's a really good one. I haven't watched the new one, but I really want to. And then one of my other first ones was Fruits Basket, which is a super like soft, romantic comedy kind of thing. It is about like high school kids, but it's very clean.
Yes.
It's not like a graphic romance by any stretch of the imagination, but it's really cute. And all of the characters are actually, these two have a very similar kind of premise to them. In Ranma 1/2, this main character, if he gets hugged by someone of the opposite gender, he turns into a female. And then with this one, you've got the 13 characters who represent the zodiac and then the cat.
Yeah.
And if they get hugged by someone of the opposite gender, they turn into the animal. So that just like leads to all kinds of like
shenanigans.
So that's a really, really fun one as well. And I actually found this one because when I was a kid, we visited family in Toronto, and we found when we were there that they actually had dedicated anime channels on cable, and my brother and I were like totally amazed. So that's like all we wanted to do the whole time. My mom was really annoyed because we were supposed to be visiting with family and we just wanted to watch anime on TV because we didn't have it at home. But that was like mind-opening. It was like so unique to have that.
Yeah, so we didn't really have manga in our library. I was in a very tiny town.
Yeah.
If anybody is familiar with Lost Creek, West Virginia, not much there. Very tiny library. But I watched like the anime on TV. We eventually got like Dish Network.
Yeah.
And like I would record the anime on Dish so I could watch it later, because obviously some of them played super late at night, and like so, or they would play while I was at school, and I would record them and then watch them so I could watch them consecutively. I did that with so many shows. Like I've been into like the anime since I was very tiny. Like I think one of the first things I watched was like a Ghibli movie.
Oh yeah.
Which was Spirited Away. It came out in 2001, I think. And my dad brought it home from what even was the DVD/VHS places.
Would it be like FYE?
No, it was like one of the rental stores.
Oh, like a Blockbuster situation.
It wasn't quite a Blockbuster, but it was something else.
Like Family Video.
Yeah, and he brought
something.
one home because he would like have those, and then I'd have Lunchables, and I would sit down and watch them. But I actually have a tattoo from Spirited Away. It's the little Soot Sprites, but it was like one of my first animated movies, and I've been obsessed with them ever since.
I always explain the Ghibli movies basically like Japanese Disney movies.
Yeah, except much better.
Yeah. They're definitely, I mean, Disney has its moments.
Yeah, I just prefer, I think it's because most of the Ghibli stuff, especially like the ones I really like Mononoke and Nausicaa, they deal with like nature and preserving nature and how nature can work with like civilization, and I think I like that a lot because some of them tend to be for younger audiences, but some of them the range is different. Like Ponyo is for very young children,
I love Ponyo. It's so cute. It's like a little goldfish baby. It's adorable. It's the story of the Little Mermaid though,
essentially. But like there's Ponyo, which is for younger children, but then you get to like Mononoke, which is a little more graphic, a little darker, and like I remember watching it the first time on Toonami because like I saw Spirited Away, but then after that I kind of didn't know anything. And then it came on Toonami and they mentioned it was like Ghibli, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch
Like, this is a thing.
Yeah, and then I watched it and I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
And then, like, now, like, I've seen every single one of them
Mhm.
multiple times.
And I know we've got some of them in our movie collection.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in dipping your toes into some of that anime, the Ghibli movies are a wonderful way to start.
Yeah.
So Spirited Away, Nausicaa, Mononoke, My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
There's a ton of really, really good ones that are a really, really good entry point into anime.
Yeah. And, like, Ghibli's not the only one that makes, like, the animated movies. So, like, there's other ones like Your Name and A Silent Voice that's really great. So, like, a lot of them are coming to, like, Netflix and stuff now.
Yeah.
So, like, they're so much more accessible than when we were kids. Like, one of my first ones that I really enjoyed was Naruto, and I watched it on Toonami, and then I got frustrated waiting for it, so I found it online, which back then, Netflix obviously wasn't as it is now. You didn't stream stuff, so you had to find very specific sites.
Oh, yeah.
And on dial-up, trying to watch a 20-minute anime would take 20 minutes to load, and then if somebody
20 if you're lucky to load,
and if somebody were to call, it would kick you off and you'd have to restart.
Oh, the buffering wheels.
Yeah,
it was a different time for sure.
And then after that, like, I found the manga to catch up on it, because I would read it on, like, Manga Fox, Manga Owl, because, like, it was fan translations.
Right, I was gonna say, because at that point, I mean, obviously some were being imported and professionally translated by the publishers, but a lot was not. Like, so much was not getting officially imported to the US and translated. So you just had people who had to have enjoyed doing it, you know, and just took one for the team so that other people could see these things and enjoy them.
Yeah, and, like, a very easy way to, like, know what you would like manga-wise, too, was they had the magazines that they would publish. Shonen Jump, Shoujo Beat, Yen Press, like, and I collected so many of those as a child, and that's how, like, I started reading, because I watched the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, but then I realized, oh, there's a manga to it, because it was in Shonen Jump.
Yes.
And then, like, that's how I found out the Naruto one. And, like, so with, like, Shonen Jump and Shoujo Beat and stuff, like, obviously they had different audiences. Like, Shonen Jump was more of, like, Naruto and Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, the shonen-based stuff, like, for what they said was for boys.
Right.
But it was more just, like, action-packed, and then Shoujo Beat was more, like, the cute, the romance, the comfy.
Right.
Which I think Shoujo Beat might be obsolete, which I'm pretty
thinking
sure.
Too. Because that was literally, like, the publishers also.
Yeah. Like, Shoujo Beat had, like, I think they put Nana out.
I remember that one.
They put, Honey and Clover out. A few of those. And then Yen Press was more, like, not just Japanese stuff. It was also, like Korean and stuff like that. So it was a little everywhere.
Yeah.
So I had so many of those growing up.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the thing. It just kind of print magazines just aren't really a thing so much anymore. So
it's more like all digital based now.
Yeah, like with Twitter and TikTok and everything else, like you know, the magazines were how you found out about things, you know, so we just kind of don't use those formats anymore. But
like, so I'm pretty sure this one was in one of them. It was High School Debut. It was super cute, like romance-wise. So essentially it was
and this one is a shoujo beat.
Yeah,
so
and
that
that's
would
how
be featured in their magazine.
And that's how I found out about it, is because, like, for the longest time I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch, like, the action-packed stuff.
Right.
And then I was like, well, I got a Shoujo Beat magazine one time when I got Shonen Jump, because, like, I ordered stuff off eBay and it came with it, and then I started reading it and I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy these cute little romance things. It's a nice little break from all the action and the fighting and stuff.
What else do you have?
Obviously, Hack. That was on, I think it was Adult Swim as well. it's very good. There's a lot more coming out like it. It's essentially people are playing like an online MMO game.
Okay.
And what happens is one of the players gets attacked in game and like his character dies or whatever, and then he's in a coma in real life.
Oof.
And they're trying to figure out like why that's happening, and there's like a corruption in the game, stuff like that. Obviously I showed Blood Plus. There's Case Closed, which is really fun. I don't know if you've ever like watched it or read it. There's like an anime to it too, but like essentially he's like a high school, he's not officially a detective, but he helps them. And like something happens, they give him like a drug, like a test drug or whatever, and it turns him into a child.
Oh no.
So this is his character, and he like does an alias for the character.
Okay.
But he's still solving crimes as a kid, but he also has like a voice changer to change him back to his original voice when people call him and stuff.
That's really silly.
So it's a lot of fun because it's like a detective solving crimes sort of thing, but it has some silliness to it. So like I'm just all over the place when it comes. I don't have one specific I like this. It just depends on my mood.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that can be said for anyone. Like, there is no person who only watches one type of TV show.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's a big misconception when it comes to anime and manga that because it's animated, because it's a cartoon or comic, that it's meant for kids, and that is absolutely not the case.
There are actually some anime on like Crunchyroll and stuff that there have been issues, like they just didn't choose the best thumbnail for the image, and come to find out it's a very mature.
Yes.
Which Crunchyroll does have it where you can set like blocks and stuff for children, but like if you don't set that block, a kid could play something that looks friendly, and then you
find out later.
Yeah, it's like one is Goblin Slayer. Very dark, but like it looked very cute from the cover, and then oh boy.
Something else to keep in mind too, if you are looking to get into it yourself, or if you maybe have a kid who is into them, is that they do have ratings on them, but they are the Japanese age ratings, and the standard is really different.
It's so much different.
Yeah. So, for example, this one that I talked about earlier, Inuyasha, the rating just says teens plus.
Yeah.
Now, there is graphic content in this, so I think teen is kind of fair, but I would put like an older teens on this, you know, like I wouldn't say younger kids. And then this one, Fruits Basket, specifically says 13 and up, which is nice, but not all of them have like a very accurate rating. So I know when I was younger, when we went to the bookstore, my dad would leaf through them all, you know, because again, sometimes it looks fine, and then you find out you've signed up for something you didn't realize.
Yeah, like most of these say like age 13 plus, because especially like some of the themes that they go over, and like obviously Naruto has like the violence because it's shinobi wars and ninjas, and it's like they're during a wartime, so there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of whatever. Same with Blood Plus, and like with the high school debut, it's not graphic per se, but some of the themes that they talk about, because they're high school students, like just the maturity level to like understand it. So
that's just something to keep in mind, and something that's very different, you know, because they're not rating them again when they get to the US. So because it's an import, basically, it's just something to be aware of, so that you, again, you don't want to find something offensive, you know, so that way you know if you're looking into it.
And a lot of the times, if you look up the title, like not even just the Wikipedia page, there's a separate like anime like rating website, so like it will tell you the rating that they recommend, as well as like the themes, and there's comments from people to get an idea of what it's about. So like if you don't want to research a ton into it, like watch it yourself essentially before you allow someone to watch it.
It's a lot of time.
You can use that. So there's resources to help you
Yeah.
understand. So
Yeah, and just because of that misconception that it's for kids,
yeah.
I always like to really put that out there because it's not just for kids.
Yes.
And if you think it is, you know, you could really end up in over your head.
Yeah, like there's some that you're like, nobody under the age of 18 should be looking at this.
Absolutely, yeah. And we talked a little bit about how hard it was to access these things in the early 2000s.
Yes.
Of course, they're a lot easier to access now online at your library. You know, we've got the paper books, and we have some of the movies and series, and then also we have access to a resource that we provide for our patrons called Hoopla. And that is basically an online library catalog, but you can borrow materials from your phone or tablet, and they have anime and they have comic books and manga and a ton of other stuff there as well. So you can actually access some of these things from home through us.
They're working on getting more over time. Like it's a work in progress. They're slowly adding stuff because obviously rights and things like that.
Yeah.
The ability, but Libby also has been getting some manga.
So before we call it, there is one thing we have to do, which is I have to ask what you are reading, what you're consuming right now.
Obviously, like it's a manga right now, which we have here. It's Princess Jellyfish.
Cute.
It's a cute one. It's kind of like a slice of life, romancy sort of thing. So like this girl is like an sort of outcast sort of thing, and she runs into like this princess. And come to find out, like if I'm recalling, like it's somebody dressed up, like a guy that's dressed up.
Yes.
And what happens is like she ends up dressing up as well, and they end up going out and doing stuff. But like it's called Princess Jellyfish because like she's obsessed with jellyfish and like being able to be like pretty much transformative.
Yeah, that is a particularly beautiful one.
Yeah.
Like the art, I mean, all of the art is amazing, but that one is just very pretty.
And it's not a long one either. I think there's maybe 9 or 10 volumes, and that's it.
That's not bad.
So it's not like a long read.
Right.
And we have all of them physically in this branch.
That's
so
awesome.
like we're able to check all of them out. Like you could check 3 at a time and then read all of those, bring those back, go to the next 3. Yeah.
Well, I am an audiobook person. I'm a multitasker, so I like to listen to my books while I do things with my hands. And right now, I've been listening for a while. It's been taking me a long time to finish this one. I'm listening to The Dressmakers of Auschwitz by Lucy Adlington. And it's a true story. I tend to read a lot of nonfiction personally, but it is a true story about some women who went through the Holocaust and survived Auschwitz partly because of their skills as dressmakers. So that's obviously a heavier book than Princess Jellyfish, but it's definitely a good read, so I would recommend it.
I mean, I'm kind of reading a little bit of a heavier one alongside Princess Jellyfish because I'm reading Mindhunters.
Oh, yeah.
Because I watched the show on Netflix, but it's not had a second, like, run. So I was like, I need to read the source material. And, like, of course, it's about the development of, like, the psychological profiling of, like, serial killers, essentially.
Right.
So it is a bit more...
It's, like, pre-Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
Well, that's awesome. Well, I think we are going to go ahead and hand it back over to Kathy and Larissa.
For sure.
But yeah, thanks for having us on, and hopefully we will be back talking about some other interesting things that we like in the future.
Yeah, and if you want any recommendations or have any recommendations...
Yeah, leave a comment.
Yeah.
So,
thank you very much.
We'd love to hear it. Thanks.
Thank you, Liz and Cara, for that interesting session. I've learned a lot.
Yes, I know. Fascinating.
Yes. So tell me, Larissa, what have you been reading?
So I always have 2 books going on. So as far as my audio book goes, I am listening to The It Girl by Ruth Ware, which is very popular right now. I'm about 50% through, and I have some mixed feelings about it. I think the plot's really good, and it's well written, but I don't love any of the characters. Like, I'm super invested into what happens to any of the characters. But we'll see. I do not know, like, where the plot's going. It's a little bit of a mystery as you're going along. So I think that's pretty good. The other one that I'm actually physically reading is Dial A for Aunties, which is a rom-com, I guess, is how I would describe it, and a little bit of a family drama because there's a multi-generational family thing going on at the same time. So I'm enjoying that, and I think it is pretty funny. So what about you? What are you reading?
I am reading House of Earth and Blood. It's the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. It's interesting. I'm only into it enough that they haven't stopped all the killing yet and gone to more of the relationship building. So I'm waiting to see where that is going.
Okay.
And I did watch a DVD this past week that I thought was pretty fun. It was called Dog, and I highly recommend it. It was a cute movie.
That's good. Everything I'm watching right now is on the geeky, nerdy side. I'm watching Rings of Power and Andor. So Lord of the Rings and Star Wars all the way. So as far as what I have coming up, since it's the beginning of the fall season, I really like going to fall fairs and festivals. So I've already been to one, and I have 2 more planned. 2 of them will be in Pennsylvania, and 1 of them in West Virginia. So I'm looking forward to fall festivals. I love those things.
They're fun. I have a wedding coming up. My son's getting married.
Ooh,
so
exciting.
all my time has been spent planning for that.
Yes.
And I'm pretty excited about that coming up here.
Very cool. All right. So we want to thank you again for joining us, and you can always put questions either on the YouTube video, or you can send us something in chat or through our web form if you have any questions you want us to answer.
Yes, and we'd like you to subscribe and like our videos.
All right. Thank you.